serious.
Can you hear
In
that?
fact, it's
Yeah.
deadly serious. It is dead in Europe, in Russia, in China, indeed around the world. It is the disease of ideology. PC is not funny. PC is deadly serious. And if we look at it analytically, and if we look at it historically, we quickly find out exactly
sounds
what it
okay.
is. Political correctness is cultural Marxism. It is Marxism translated from economic into cultural terms in an effort that goes back not to the 1960s and the hippies and the peace movement, but back to World War I. If we compare the basic tenets of political correctness with classical Marxism, the parallels are very obvious. First of all, both are totalitarian ideologies. The totalitarian nature of political correctness is revealed nowhere more clearly than on college campuses, many of which have at this point become small, ivy-covered North Koreas, where the student or faculty member who dares to cross any of the lines set up by the gender feminists and the homosexual rights activists or the local black group or Hispanic group or any of the other sainted victims groups that PC revolves around quickly finds themselves in judicial trouble. They face within the small legal system of the college, they face formal charges, they face some kind of star chamber proceeding, and they face punishment. That is a predecessor, that is a little look into the future that political correctness intends for the nation as a whole.
Okay, there you go.
Indeed.
The origins of political correctness as briefly introduced by Bill Lind of the Accuracy and Academia crowd. And that's correct, you are watching the chat corner. And the phone lines are open for those who would like to call in. We have tonight's guest and the usual research assistant, Mr. J, stuck in the corner. Mr. J Pitts, Mr. Research Assistant. What did you think of Bill Lind? Did you catch him when he was on C-SPAN? By the way, I was able to gain permission from Accuracy and Academia and Accuracy of Media. They sent me a nice information packet.
You contacted them?
Yes, and they gave us permission to use whatever portions of those speeches that we wanted to. And I thought Bill Lind right there succinctly described what a lot of people have been calling for a long time, newspeak, which goes to the for folks that may not know where newspeak came from, it came from George Orwell's 1984, which some of the youngsters that were in upper level grade school and high school and maybe even some of the freshman and sophomore literature classes in college had to study that during the year of 1984, but it's been largely ignored for quite a while.
I wonder if he's right about what he said about faculties on university campuses. If they spoke out, they'd be subjected to some star chamber proceedings and would find themselves out of job and all that. I wouldn't know. I've never been a faculty member.
Well, he goes on to talk about self-segregation and that groups, for whatever reason, will self-segregate themselves, whether or not, you know, there's things that are set up for it. And of course, you can draw your own conclusions. I'm not going to mention any particular groups. We don't have a large contingency of Native Americans, but they might set up their own little Native American lounge or club or whatever, and so they're involved in self-segregation, and whether or not it's legislated for or against, they do it themselves and nobody else outside the group is allowed to participate. But yet every other group on campus, or for that matter anywhere else, has to admit everyone. So it's kind of not a very bilateral situation. It doesn't work both ways.
Not at all. You can have a black student coalition, but you can't have a white student coalition.
Well, I didn't want to put it into a black and white situation, but you've already raised that.
It's not a black and
issue.
white issue. The issue is self-segregation.
Well, I think
Right.
it has a lot more deeper meaning than even that. I think it goes to deeper roots of a social agenda or a political agenda.
We'll look at the secret societies that permeate your own government.
I don't know.
No.
I don't know how much proof we can raise about that, but just as food for thought, let's go back to a clip of the infamous movie we just talked about, 1984. If I can get that to work.
Double plus ridiculous virgin crime thing to be cancelled. Stop. End message.
Heavy turbine section. Outer party member 4392, Rosenblum mini prod light industry section. Outer party member 66755, Davis, mini prod women's section. That concludes the list of known agents actively engaged in the latest conspiracy.
Not much of this gets to the outer party, I'm afraid.
Of sabotage and seditious propaganda
To our leader.
fact that our eternal allies in Eurasia are turning against us. More nests of conspirators and saboteurs have been uncovered, and further arrests are expected shortly.
You can... Yes. You're allowed that privilege. Some more of this? It is called wine. There are thought criminals who maintain that the resistance is not real. Believe me, Winston,